I want to talk about, well, you mentioned Franklin, Jefferson. These were, by the way, the least devout of all the founders. And yet Jefferson, when he wanted to condemn slavery, used surprisingly biblical language. The Almighty can take no side of ours in this kind of a contest. The unbeliever Jefferson became peculiarly devout. And when Jefferson, in the Declaration of Independence, a considered document, had to locate the source of our rights, he could think of only one: the Creator. No other. This was a man of the Enlightenment who could find no secular sources for rights to appeal to other than transcendent Creator. Finally, a point about, look, the only point I wanted to make about the crimes of religion and atheism are this. Christopher says he doesn't want to feel bad about the Khmer Rouge, and that's fine. But then he proceeds to show that Stalinism and North Korea were really disguised forms of religion. So he's trying to make Dennis and me feel bad about those things, even though we had nothing to do with them any more than he did. So there's a sleight of hand going on here, and that's all I'm objecting to. We need an equal calculus. If you read Henry Kamen's multi-volume study of the Inquisition, you discover that over a period of some 350 years, the Spanish Inquisition, which was the worst, killed about 2,000 people. Now, that's 2,000 too many, but 2,000 people over I'm not a math major, it works to about 5 guys a year. This is not a world historical crime. An ordinary atheist on a good afternoon would wipe out multiples of these people. Now, Christopher Hitchens Richard Dawkins in his book, The God Delusion, says, but wait a minute. The atheists, the Christians killed in the name of Christianity. You might have had tyrants who happened to be atheists, but they didn't kill in the name of atheism. Now, see, Dawkins is an accomplished biologist, but there's a bit of a problem when you let a biologist leave the lab, because here's a guy with no understanding whatsoever of history. You just have to crack open the Communist Manifesto to see that atheism isn't incidental. It is integral to the Marxist philosophy. Religion is the opium or the opiate of the masses. The idea is to create a society in which religion is abolished, and class, and in the case of the Nazis, race, replaces traditional religious loyalties as the ultimate allegiance of man. Thank you.
Thank you. As these gentlemen make their closing arguments, this is the opportunity for the ushers to come through the aisles. Because it's not a revival, the only contribution they will be seeking is your questions. If you would make them short, there's a much better chance we'll be able to get to them. Just pass them back to the edge of the aisle at any point during the next 15 minutes, and the ushers will come collect them, and we'll get through as many of them as we can. So with that, if you are ready, shall we begin? Mr. Hitchens, I think we have...
We've got more?
We've got more. You've got 5 more minutes.
All right. Okay, well, listen.
Go.
Let me just tell you a couple of things about the ideology of Kim Il-sungism in North Korea. It says that Kim Il-sung was miraculously born, and that on the day of his birth, birds sang in Korean to witness the miraculous birth. Birds don't sing in Korean, I can promise that, or any other human language. That he is not dead. He is still the president of North Korea. When President Bush writes to Kim Jong-il, he refers to him as Dear Mr. Chairman, not Dear Mr. President, because though Kim Jong-il is the head of the party and of the army of North Korea, he is not the head of the state. That office has been held for the past 13 years by a dead man, who isn't dead but has been reincarnated in the person of his son. In other words, North Korea is what you might call a necrocracy, or a thanatocracy, or a mausolocracy, but you can call it many things. You may not call it secular. It is a state entirely based on mysticism, worship, and supernatural intervention. Not to know this is not to know anything about it. The statement that religion is the opium of the people was never made by Karl Marx and appears nowhere in the Communist Manifesto. If you go to fine bookstores anywhere and get hold of a copy of God is Not Great, you can find quite early on the full quotation, which comes from Marx's critique of Georg Friedrich Hegel's philosophy of right, in which he says of religion that it is the heart of the heartless world, the sigh of the oppressed creature, the spirit of the spiritless situation, an opiate for the people, and adding that religion has plucked the flowers from the chain, not so that men may wear the chain without consolation, but so that they may break the chain and cull the living flower. I'm willing to say that much for Marxism against vulgar defamations of it and of any other defamation of what is the atheist position, and also the atheist understanding of what the wellsprings of religion really are. Now, how true is it that without God everything is permitted? You might say that a person would say, well, it's without a divine intervention, without a supervision, without a totalitarian, a celestial dictator watching my every move who can convict me of thought crime. And who wants this to be true? Who would like this to be the case? I'll leave that question with you. But without it, suppose without the dictator, people would just do what they liked. Well, isn't it just as true, Dennis, that with that dictator and his orders, everything is also permitted? Because if God orders you to do it, you may have to go and kill all the members of the other tribe, not sparing even their children, and be rebuked if you even spare some, as is countlessly enjoined in the Bible. You may find that you've got to go and blow yourself up in order to get to heaven and take as many unbelievers with you, because to do things that no secularist would think about doing, because God's instructions require it. In other words, with God, it seems that an incredible number of things are permitted as well, if not just permitted, actually ordered of you, required of you, which may include extremely cruel and criminal acts. Now, we've got no further this evening, I'm sorry to say, but this is what I'm hoping for in the question period. We've got no further than deism, or at least my opponents have got no further than deism, than the suggestion that because so many things are the way they are, there must be some kind of authorship or design. This is a very, very hoary argument. Indeed, it's been multiply rebutted. I've given you some of the refutations of the argument from design already this evening. But let's suppose I grant them or say that I can't overthrow them. How are they going to get from deism to theism? How are they going to get from an ultimate author or possible designer or prime cause to someone who cares who you sleep with and in what position? Or who cares how you mutilate your genitalia? Or who cares what you do on a Friday or a Saturday? Or cares for what you eat? Or can tell you what to do and how to get to heaven? How does deism help you to get to theism? How does the Big Bang lead to answered prayers or virgin births or miraculous interventions in human affairs? All of these things remain to be proved, or so far, on the part of my antagonists, even argued for. Not one of them has even tried, you must have noticed, to make a case to you this evening that if you don't believe this, there's no redemption for you.
Thank you.
There's not one statement in favor of religion has been made from this platform all evening. I find that striking as an example of how far secularism has penetrated without people even noticing it.
Thank you, Mr. Prager.
Well, I can only speak for myself that I have the idiosyncratic tendency to only talk about the topic. The topic is the Christian God, the Jewish God.
Well, now's
no
your chance,
God.
then.
Okay, I didn't interrupt you. The topic was not the case for religion. The topic was about God. God or no God, specifically the Christian perception, the Jewish perception, or the atheist perception of no God. That's what we discussed.